Are you newly eligible for Medicare, or are you just looking for a refresh on information? Well, look no further because welcome to the Medicare Crash Course. This is going to be the first video in what I believe will be a 4-part series where we will go over Medicare, Medicare supplements, prescription drug plans, as well as dental, vision, and hearing products, and then Medicare Advantage plans and other ancillary benefits there. Before we get into the details of Medicare, I want to say thank you to everyone for the kind words and encouragement and the support that I have making this channel. I really wanted to get this video out a lot sooner, but I had a couple days tied up at work that didn't make that happen. Now back to Medicare. Let's first start with what is Medicare and when can you enroll? Medicare is a federal health insurance program for people aged 65 and older. People younger than 65 with certain diseases such as permanent kidney failure, ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, and other disabilities may qualify. You can first enroll in Medicare 3 months before your 65th birthday, the month of, or 3 months after. When you're on Social Security disability, your eligibility for Medicare starts 24 months after you're first deemed eligible for Social Security disability. You could delay your Medicare as long as you have a credible coverage through employment of a workplace of 20 or more employees. And like I said, that coverage has to be deemed credible. So you want to make sure that it is just as, if not better, than Medicare's coverage. And if so, you could work as long as you like and delay your Medicare until the day you retire. Something to note is if you have a health savings account, you do not want to enroll in Medicare, not even the Part A. What we have at our office and what we do sometimes is if someone says, I'm going to work past 65, we like to enroll them in Part A if they do not have an HSA, because that just kind of puts them in Social Security system and makes things a little bit easier down the road. But if you do have an HSA, being eligible for Medicare does not make you eligible or your employer eligible to deposit into that HSA anymore, and there could be some tax complications and penalties. Part A for most is zero premium. That is determined as long as you paid into 40 quarters of Social Security throughout your work history, or you're able to claim off a spouse or a ex-spouse who has paid into those quarters as well. If you do not have those quarters for the Part A premium, then you are going to be paying a range from $285 all the way up to $518, and that is determined on how many quarters you do have paid into the system. Like I said before, if you do not have those quarters, you could claim off a spouse or an ex-spouse depending on how long you were married to that ex-spouse and how the marriage ended. Part B for most is $185. If you're on Medicaid or on the low income scale, then you could pay less than that. If you're on the high income scale, you could be assessed what's called IRMA. What happens with that is they're looking at 2 years ago's tax returns and how you file, whether it's single, married jointly, married separately. And if you're deemed above certain income requirements, you could actually pay more than the $185. In the description of this video, I'm going to put links to both of those. That way you can pull it up and actually see where we're at and gauge for yourself. Now, if you retire, you could actually get the IRMA reassessed. You turn in one form to Social Security. They will look at the appeal and determine, do you still have to pay the higher premium, or will they readjust you back down to $185? So now that we've gone over the prices, and we now have to look at what does Medicare cover. We at our office like to describe Medicare as Swiss cheese. It is coverage, but there's holes in the entire system. In this video, like I said, we are looking at Medicare Part A only. So if you have questions on Medicare supplements or how to fill in the holes in Medicare, that's going to come in parts 2, 3, and 4. So right now we're looking at if you had Medicare by itself, what is your coverage? Let's start with Part A. Part A is commonly referred to as hospital insurance for Medicare. I like to use the term inpatient. Medicare Part A runs off a 60-day benefit period. So if you're discharged from being an inpatient and you're out for 60 days or more, and then you go into an inpatient facility, all the benefits reset. So when we look at this, just keep that in mind. Let's look at your hospital coverage first. If you go into the hospital for the first 60 days, Medicare Part A has a deductible, and that deductible is $1,676. So just to give you an example of that 60-day benefit period, If you go into the hospital and you're there for 20 days, you have to pay your $1,676 deductible. If you leave that hospital and you go in 3 months later, you're gonna pay it again. That aside, first 60 days, you're liable for $1,676. For days 61 through 90, you are liable for $419 per day. And for days 91 through 150, you're going to be liable for $838 a day while you use what's called Medicare's lifetime reserve days. Once those reserve days run out, or you're in for over 150 days, with Medicare only, you are assuming all cost. Now what happens if you need to go into skilled nursing rehab or the nursing home for rehab purposes? There are requirements you must meet with Medicare. The first is you have to have been admitted as an inpatient into the hospital at least for 3 days prior to going. What happens is hospitals could sometimes leave you under what's called observation, where you could be in for up to 2 weeks and never have been admitted. If you have been in for over 2 weeks, you are for sure admitted. However, if you are told that you need to go to a nursing home and you have not been in for 2 weeks or more, you may want to inquire about what your status is. Have you been billed outpatient observation or have you been admitted? If you've been admitted, everything's great. If you have not been admitted, you're going to want to seriously consider the nursing home coverage because you're going to be liable for all cost. Other requirements are you must go into a Medicare approved facility. You must go within 30 days of leaving the nursing home. So you are actually able to leave, go to your house. And then if you decide, I probably should go, you could then go. You must also get better on a weekly basis. Nursing home coverage, first 20 days, you're meeting all requirements, you won't pay a dime. For days 21 through 100, you will have a copay of $209.50 per day. After 100 days, you are now considered what's called long-term care, and Medicare does not cover long-term care coverage. If you have a current standing long-term care policy, that's when that will kick in. As for hospice, you will have $0 copay for covered hospice services. Basically, Medicare is going to leave you a small copay for outpatient drugs and inpatient respite care. If you have to receive blood while you're in the hospital, Medicare does not pay a dime on the first 3 pints. They will pay for every pint after 100%, but if for the first 3, you're going to pay the cost. Now on to Medicare Part B. Medicare Part B is referred to as medical when you look at your Medicare card. I call it outpatient. Like I said earlier, Part A is inpatient, Part B is outpatient coverage. That's going to be your doctors, your labs, your x-rays, chemo, dialysis, outpatient rehab, physical therapy, anything that's not prescription meds or admitted into the hospital or admitted services falls under Medicare Part B. Medicare Part B has a once per year, $257 deductible. Notice how I said once per year. Part A, your deductible was per benefit period. There are no benefit periods with Part B. It is all calendar year basis. So you have a once per year, $257 deductible, and then it's 80-20 coverage. Medicare will cover 80, you're going to get the bill for 20%. Aside from that, you may see some excess charges if you reside in a state where they are allowed to bill so. I'm going to list the states that do not allow excess charge right here in this video. Now, Medicare does not cover prescription medications. In order to cover prescription medications at the pharmacy, you need to pick up a prescription drug plan, which we are going to explain in a later video. Medicare also does not cover routine dental, vision, or hearing. So we will go over how to get those covered in a later video as well. Well, that's all for part 1 of the Medicare crash course. We will be going over Medicare supplements in our next video, as well as how to get dental, vision, and hearing covered. So thank you. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and please share with your friends. I'm truly grateful that we've already hit my goal for the first couple weeks was just get 100 subscribers. So let's keep pushing. I appreciate all the support, and I'll see you soon.